Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another football based episode. And in today's video we are going to be doing my Premier League predictions. Yes, that's right, we've had a lot of transfers recently, so I thought it was a good time to do my early-ish Premier League predictions. With the Premier League season only a few short weeks away, I thought let's get on it, let's embarrass myself and completely look like a tit by showing you what I think will happen in the Premier League this season. If you guys are new around here, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button as well. We're aiming for 1,000 subs by the end of the year. And yeah, if you are enjoying the football content on the channel, a subscribe would be absolutely smashing. But yeah, let's get into the video. As you can see on screen, we have a lovely little graph up here on tiermaker.com, and this is what we're going to use to do the predictions for today's video. As you can see, along the bottom, we have every single Premier League team for this season, the newcomers being Luton, Sheffield United, and of course, Vincent Kompany's Burnley. So a lot of people so far have been predicting nearly all of the Premier League teams, the newcomers, to go down, but I'm going to show you that I'm different. So we'll start from the bottom of the league, work our way up to the top, and I'm probably going to offend a lot of people, and I'm going to try and do this as least biased as possible. So yeah, let's crack on with it. My first predictions for the channel ever, so let's hope I don't make a complete knob of myself. But yeah, let's go. So of course we're going to start with the team who I think are going to finish bottom of the league, and unfortunately I am going to give that position to Luton Town. Unfortunately, I just don't think Luton have enough to stay up. They haven't done a lot of business due to them spending around 20 mil or ish upgrading their stadium to beat Premier League standard. So I just don't think they're going to have enough. People were banking on their home form last season, which really was good, but it wasn't how. If you didn't watch the Championship, I think people just assume their home form is really good. But I think they're going to get eaten alive in this Premier League. This is one of the most competitive Premier Leagues we've ever seen, in my opinion. So I think they're going to get eaten alive. I really don't think they're going to do well. We might have a derby on our hands, and that'd be sad. Well, not really. It's Luton, but you know, newcomer. They're going down. Let's be honest. It's a banker. This one's a banker. I know people said that about Bournemouth last season, but this is a banker. I'm sorry, Luton. Up next, who else do I think is going to get relegated? We'll do two now, just to make this video not 2,000 years long. We are going to go with, this might be a shock to some people, I'm going to go Wolves. Yep, I can't believe I'm doing it myself, but their window so far has been atrocious. They've been absolutely gutted. Their midfield's been gutted. They've sold key centre-backs to the likes of Brentford, which is not helpful. Obviously, a lot of their team have gone off to Saudi Arabia. They haven't really done well to recoup replacements yet. I'm pretty sure the only player they bought so is Doherty. They've obviously sold Jimenez, and I just don't see it going very well for them. They had a pretty poor season last season, finishing mid-table, 15th. I'm pretty sure they finished in last season, and I just think they're going to get worse. I think Lopetegui is going to be sacked by January, and I think it's going to be a miserable time for Wolves. But who is going to join them, you may ask? Who's going to join them? And I'm not sure myself right now, to be honest with you. I'm looking at it, but I think I'm going to go with Bournemouth. They escaped it last time, but I don't think they're going to be that lucky again. Obviously, they had that great purple patch form near the end of the season to keep them up, but I really don't think they're going to excel any further. Their business has been all right so far. They've obviously brought in Cliver in, where he's had a mixed time of his career so far, a bit of a journeyman. I don't think that's going to be enough. I think second season syndrome is going to hit Bournemouth, and I think they're going to go down. So yeah, I've only got one of the newly promoted teams, which is fairly uncommon with other people, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, mix it up a bit. Right, now we go on to the bottom half of the league, mid-table so far. Right, let's get on to 13th to 17th, shall we? And we'll start with 17th, who is just going to avoid relegation. I think straight off we can put Sheffield United in there. I think they'll survive, but I think they'll just survive. I don't think they're going to blow anyone away this season, but I think they'll finish 17th. I think their squad is decent. They've got a good group of players and they're a good core. I don't think they're good enough to finish any higher, but I think they'll just scrape through really right near the end of the season. But I think they'll have enough to get through that. Their first season back in the Premier League, they shocked a few people, and I think they'll do again. So I think they'll have enough to stay up. Who will finish 16th? I wonder. Well, I think 16th place is going to go to Everton. I think Everton once again stay up, but it won't be a brilliant season. I think some of their summer business has been alright. I think getting in Dan Juma is a good signing. Obviously, he didn't really play at Spurs last season at all, so that was a bit of an odd signing for them. Obviously, getting snatched away last minute from Everton, but they've got him now. They've got their hands on him, and I think it'll be another so-so season for Everton. Staying up, I think, is the best they're going to do. But yeah, got him in 16th here. Up next, I think some people might disagree with me. I don't think this will be a surprise to some people, but I'm putting Fulham in 16th. I think keeping Marco Silva is the key ingredient to them staying up. They brought in Raul Jimenez, obviously didn't score any goals last season, so I don't know how well he's going to do there. If Mitrovic goes, I don't see where the goals are going to come from to get them to finish any higher in the table, hence why I've put them that low down, 15th place. I think Fulham fans will be pretty happy after hearing the news that they might have lost their manager and a striker in the same window. Obviously, neither of them are left yet, but I think Mitrovic will eventually leave. He's already told everyone he's going to sit on his arse and he's not going to play for Fulham ever again. So I think that is them consigned to lower mid-table, but I think they're pretty happy with being safe anyway. So who will finish above Fulham? I reckon it will be a Burnley side. They'll finish just above Fulham. I think their style of play under Vincent Kompany has been pretty good. It's definitely different from previous Burnley sides. It could see them getting exploited, but I think Vincent Kompany is a really good manager, and I think he's smart enough to keep them up there. So I think they'll finish above Fulham, and I think they'll be comfortable staying up. I don't think at any point they're going to be close to relegation, but I think they'll have a good solid first season in the Prem. Up next we have the 30th position, and this one is pretty easy for me, I think. Crystal Palace are always going to finish between 30th and 12th, aren't they? They have a pretty decently solid Premier League side. Team at the moment, obviously losing Zaha, but I don't think that's going to be that as big a blow as a lot of other people think. Obviously, he's been injured for a lot of the previous season, and they've got such great talent in Elise and Eze. Obviously, if they keep them, I think they will, to be honest. It's going to cost a lot to get them out of there. So I think this is pretty much a banker for around 12th, 13th, really. They always finish there. Don't know how long Roy Hodgson's going to last in there, but I think they'll just need another solid average season from Crystal Palace. So up next we have the tier of mid-table 8 to 12. This is where it gets a bit more interesting. I've still got Nottingham Forest left in there. We've got all the big sides left. So this is going to be a bit of a tricky one. Talking about Nottingham Forest, I think a 12th place finish for them will be pretty good. I'm banking on their home form, keeping them there. Obviously, they're really good home form last season, taking points even off Man City, which was pretty good for a time being an Arsenal fan. But I think a solid 12th place finish. I think they have a decent enough squad. If they get Dean Henderson over the line, they just signed Elanga as well. I think Elanga's a pretty good player. I remember a few seasons back where he was like breaking through into the United team. He looked something special. Obviously, that's petered off a little bit now, but I think Nottingham Forest have a good enough team to finish 12th. I don't think there'll be any danger of going down at all, and I think it'll be another solid season and building for the future for Nottingham Forest. It's great having them in the league and big historical side, so I think a 12th place finish for them. Now we're getting into it. Now look at the teams that are left. This is getting a bit more tricky now. So up, who's going to finish just above Nottingham Forest in 11th? For me, I think it's going to be West Ham. Declan Riceless, West Ham, thank you very much. Quite rich West Ham. I think this also depends on really signings they're going to make. How are they going to replace Declan Rice? I think if they get Ward-Prowse, I think he's one of their main targets, and also Conor Gallagher at Chelsea. I think it'll be a solid season for West Ham, really. They've got that Europa League campaign to think about as well. I think that'll take a toll on them. Obviously, this season, their Premier League form's been pretty bad because of them juggling both of those. But I think in the end, they prioritised Europa Conference League, which is really good. For once, I was actually quite happy that another English team had won a final. Really happy when Bowen scored that goal when he ran for a goal. So I was quite happy with them. But yeah, I think another solid-ish season for West Ham. I don't think they're going to be any danger. Just could be floating around that mid-table section. I don't think they're going to win Europa League, to be honest. They might get out of the group stage, but I don't think they'll get any further than that. But I think a reasonably fine season. It's not anything amazing finishing in. We got them down 11th here, so yeah, not too bad, nearly getting into the top half of the table, but I don't think they can really hope to achieve for any more than that, really. They need Bowen to have a really good season next season. Skamaka said he wants to score at least 20 goals, which I don't think that's ever going to happen, but we'll wait and see, shall we? Up next, we are definitely going to be shoving in Brentford. Brentford, another solid campaign as well. It's going to be interesting to see an Ivan Toney-less Brentford. And again, they're winning games at the back end of the season without him. I think Mbeumo's going to have a good campaign this year. I think it's time for it'd be interesting to see how Damsgaard steps up, because obviously since they bought him, he's just been an injury-prone mess, really. So I really hope he steps up. He was really exciting at the Euros when Eriksen went off, unfortunately. But yeah, big things from Brentford, I reckon. I think they might shock a few people, even without Ivan Toney. I think they'll just be just fine. They'll finish comfortably in the mid-table in 10th place, and I think Brentford fans will be fairly happy with that. Another season of progression in the Premier League. So in 9th place now, this is getting a bit more tricky, because we have some big hitters here. We have some of the underdogs from last season that played really well, but who has a worse team out of all of these? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. This is probably the trickiest position I can pick right now. So we've got Nottingham Forest in 12th, we've got West Ham 11th, and we've got Brentford 10th. Who's finishing 9th? Because a lot of these teams are making good plays in the transfer market, and it'd be interesting to see. Obviously, I'm making this without knowing all of the transfers, so a lot of the teams have holes in already. I'm fairly confident with the rest of them, to be honest with you, but this one's getting tricky. We're going to remove all biases from this video. Okay, I'm purely going on strongest squads last season, who's crap and who's not, and I think we're going to go for Brighton. I think I to be honest, 9th place is good for Brighton. Let's be honest, it was only a few seasons ago they got promoted to the Premier League. They've been really good since they got here. Probably the best run team in the country, but this is the first time they're going to be juggling European football. Can they do that? How deep is their squad? It's a decent squad. They're always going to pull out some random South American fella from somewhere, and it's going to save their season. I think they made some really good signings. João Pedro has been a really good signing for me. De Hoos is an interesting one because of his injury record. James Milner's just going to be there for a bench option there. So I think they've got a good solid side, reasonable squad depth, but balancing that European campaign with the league, I think it's going to be a detriment to their league position, because I think they will want to go far in the European competition, and I think they can. So I'm going to stick them comfortably in the mid-table, just missing out on those European qualification spaces. Just there's too many big teams left, and I don't think Brighton are going to have their legs like they did last season, especially if they lose a player like Caicedo. But they've shown already that they can lose those players and already have a cracking season. But I don't think there's going to be any complaints from Brighton finishing there. So let's get on to the rest of the teams, and this is where it gets hard. This is probably the hardest prediction for a season in a long time, especially because a team like Aston Villa look really good. I'll be honest, they look amazing. I'm really glad to see Unai Emery doing well. I didn't really want him sacked at Arsenal, but it's proved out well in the end, didn't it? Right, our last position for the mid-table section, 8th place. Who's going to finish 8th place? I honestly don't know. I think it'll be Chelsea. A lot of people are thinking Chelsea's going to have a rather good season, possibly underdogs for the season, but I just don't see where the goals are coming from, and their midfield has been decimated. They've lost 5 midfielders since last January. They've gone from having too many players to half the team. There was a team photo from their pre-season tour, and people were just like, I don't know who any of these fellas are, like just full of absolute mercenaries at Chelsea at the moment. But considering they finished where they finished last season, 8th place isn't the worst. I don't think they're going to get any European qualification spots. They brought in Jackson. Yeah, he's had a good pre-season, but pre-season's not always the best thing to go off, especially when you're considering Man City, Liverpool from the Community Shield last season. Darwin Núñez looked a lot better than Haaland. Look how that turned out. Absolute minefield pre-season is, and I think Chelsea aren't going to have enough. I don't see where the goals from. Especially if they sell Conor Gallagher, it's just going to be youth in that midfield, and that's a risky game. Thiago Silva's so injury prone at his age. Obviously, they've already lost Fofana, long-term injury. I think just out of the rest of these squads, they're the thinnest as well. They don't have much squad depth, considering how many players. Well, they have squad depth, but it's all youth players, and I just don't see them being better than any other teams. I really don't. So I've stuck them 8th. Kill me in the comments section if you're a Chelsea fan, but I don't care. You're going in 8th, and I think that's the highest you can go for. I just don't see it, mate. You're not as good as Aston Villa, unfortunately. I know that's a weird statement to make, but you're not. So up next, talking about Aston Villa, we're going to put them in 7th place. Yes, I think Aston Villa will get European competition once again. They're building really well under Unai Emery. They're signing Champions League level players in Diaby. Diaby is one hell of a signing. Like, Champions League level teams wanted them. He's been linked with Arsenal, Liverpool, Saudi Arabia. Obviously turned down big bucks from over there. Obviously he replaced their main marquee side from last season by Leverkusen, so it'd be interesting to see how they link up. But I think they're going to have a good campaign. Be interested once again to see how they juggle having European football again. I think they'll go pretty deep in the Europa Conference League. It should be pretty easy for Unai Emery considering his pedigree in the Europa League. They have a pretty good squad at this point. They've got great striking options. I think even defensively now, what a signing they've made at the back as well. What a signing. Once again, linked with Man City a few seasons ago as well. Yeah, I think Aston Villa are ones to watch out for. They've obviously got Yuri Tillemans and Ola Free, who's been heavily linked with Arsenal and Liverpool down the years. But yeah, that Pau Torres signing is such a statement from Aston Villa. Considering last season he was being linked with Man City, ball playing centre back, they're really targeting top players. They've probably got one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Obviously, World Cup winner. Diaby in the side. They're looking more like a Europa League level side now. But yeah, what a team they've got. They've got a really good team, and I think they will get 7th. And I think Aston Villa got to be really happy with that. That's progression. I think consistently getting Europa League or European Conference League for Aston Villa is incredible, considering how powerful most of the Premier League teams are, how much money is in there, and they managed to break into that, and I think they'll sustain European football this season. See, now we get to the big crux of it. We've only got 6 teams left, and many of you are probably surprised that Spurs are still there, but Spurs are not going to be there anymore. I think they'll finish 6th. Yep, they'll finish 6th this season, and I think that'll be good for Spurs, considering where they are at the moment. I don't think their squad's that bad, really. They have a decent squad. Maddison's probably signing of the season for me so far. I think even if they lose Harry Kane, I'll still stick him in this position because they'll replace him. Granted, you're not going to replace 30 goals, but as long as they can spread all the goals along the front line, I think Richarlison would be happier if Kane left. And a happy Richarlison's a good Richarlison. We've all seen that at Everton and Watford. So I think they'll have enough. I think they will bring in at least another centre-back in this transfer window. They need to. So I'm banking on them bringing in another centre-back. They really needed Pau Torres. That would have been a really good signing for Spurs. I think Pedro Porro is going to have a good season this season. He looked pretty good at the back end of last season. It'd be interesting to see how he works in a Postecoglou system. I think that's a very underrated managerial decision, considering they've gone for these big name managers. It's really not worked. Defensive football under Spurs has really not played into the strengths of Spurs, considering at one point they probably had the best forward line in the league with Son in there when Dele Alli was at his peak. Now they've got Kulusevski, Harry Kane. So it's very unusual, but now they're going for an attacking manager. I think another solid position now, getting back into European football, and I think that'll be another solid season for Spurs. But yeah, I think that is Spurs for them. So up into 5th position, who's just going to miss out on the top 4? I'm pretty sure top 5 get Champions League this season anyway. So I'm going to put my neck on the line here and say Manchester United.
Who loses to Arsenal? I can't believe we are losing to Arsenal.
People are saying they're outside shots for the league. I don't see it at all. They just don't have a goal scorer. The only reason I really pushed up that high last season because of Rashford's solid patch for 3 months. His purple patch came in. I don't think that's going to happen this season. I just don't see where the goals are coming from. They're relying on that home form because their away form last season was atrocious. They got battered multiple times. I don't think Martinez is as good as everyone says. A world-class centre-back does not concede 7 goals in one game. Gets battered by Brentford, by Man City. I just don't think they're good enough yet. If they sign a striker, I don't even think Højlund is going to be enough. They need a world-class striker if they're going to push for the league. Really, they don't have that at the moment. They have some several heavily injury-prone players in Varane. Casemiro is just has no discipline whatsoever. And Mason Mount is. I've always thought Mason Mount was fairly overrated. It'd be interesting to see how he works under Ten Hag. Obviously, they've had a really weird pre-season. Obviously, they beat Arsenal 2-0, and then they go and lose to Real Madrid as well. They look pretty lacklustre in that performance. But because of that striking issue, I still think they're reasonably light in the midfield on depth-wise. Wing-backs, obviously, they have Luke Shaw, Wan-Bissaka, Dalot. I still think they could upgrade that area. Be interested to see how Onana does as well. But I think they'll just miss out on top 4 this time. They nearly did last season. There was that point where Liverpool won 8 games in a row. They're only a few points behind Man United. So I just don't think they'll have enough this season. I'm afraid. Well, I'm not afraid. I hate United, so I'm quite happy to see them there. That will make me very happy. But I'm pretty sure they're still Champions League, 5th position this season. So you still got to be happy if you're a United fan. And I don't think they're going to balance that Champions League. I don't think they're ever near enough depth-wise to challenge for Champions League. And the Premier League, they've got to decide on one. They don't have to strike force for it unless they start playing Rashford through the middle, but he didn't even look comfortable in the middle last season. But yeah, be interesting to see how Man United does and see who they bring in. But yeah, let's get on to the top 4. So at 4th position, I think Newcastle will finish 4th. I think obviously that defence is crucial to their position in the table. I think they've done some really good business in this transfer window. I think they've got one of the best forward lines in the league, really. Isaac is such a quality player. Barnes is a very good recruitment. Such an Eddie Howe player. Midfielder, Tonali in there. Bruno Guimaraes could play for nearly every team in the world. He'd start from any team in the Prem, really. So I think they will consolidate 4th. They do need some more signings if they're going to be challenging on all fronts. I think another solid campaign of building for Newcastle. I don't see them doing any worse than this season. Obviously going to be relying on that home form, but I think they will squeeze in 4th. I think if United and Newcastle position can be easily swapped around, I think both of them, they will definitely get 5th or 4th for me. I don't see Tottenham, Aston Villa, Chelsea breaking into that. I think you could swap them around. It depends if Man United get a striker or not. I don't think they'll end up getting one. So I think Newcastle for now, I think they'll get top 4. And I think they've had a much better window than United. So stuck them in 4th. 3rd place, now we're getting to the juicy part, the top 3. This is hard, man. I just don't think Man City have the depth that they used to. They've sold a lot of key assets. If anyone's going to win the league, that's not Man City. They're going to have to do it now. Especially they're going to have that hangover from the treble season. They've sold Gundogan. I don't think they've replaced him properly. And Kovacic is a good player, but he's a downgrade on Gundogan, in my opinion. They really need to replace Mahrez, which they haven't at the moment. Bernardo Silva wants to leave. Kyle Walker looks like he wants to leave. So they're looking a bit threadbare, really. But the thing is, Man City's starting 11 is the best in the league. Everyone knows that. It's just if they start getting injuries, especially if they want to challenge for everything again. But I don't think they're going to have enough to win the league this season. There's a reason why. There's a reason why no one's ever won 3 in a row before. So that's gonna play into it, really, isn't it? But I think in 3rd place it's going to be Liverpool. I think if Liverpool had kept their midfield intact, I think they could have challenged for the league. I think they will try and push for the league, but the fact their midfield is so threadbare now and they're starting out with a brand new midfield, I don't think the forward line's an issue. That is world class, one of the best forward lines in the league. I think Darwin Núñez is going to have a superb season this season after having a season under his belt. I don't think it was bad as a lot of people are saying. I think he's going to have a cracking season, but they're going to have a slow start due to that brand new midfield. Defensively, there's still a bit question marks there. Obviously, Konate's world class in his day. Van Dijk at one point was the best centre back in the world. Depends if he has a good season this season, but they've lost Fabinho. Carvalho's gone out on loan. They've also lost Henderson in there, which I think is a big blow, and I don't think they're going to have enough to carry on through. I think they will buy another CDM, so I'm not worried about that. I think they'll get Lavia through the door, which is an incredible signing for them, but I don't think it's going to be enough to carry them to Champions spot, really. So we're going to go with Liverpool in third, and I think that's a great season for Liverpool, considering they have no European football either to worry about. So yeah, well, they do have Europe. They obviously have the Europa League this season, so not as much to worry about in there because they don't have Champions League football anymore. So they can play weakened teams in the group stage, not put out full squads for that. Whereas in Champions League, we really do have to. So yeah, I think it'll be a solid season for Liverpool, third place. I don't think anyone's complaining about that. So, after all my spiel about Manchester City, who is going to win the league? I just don't see Man City winning 4 in a row. And you might call me biased in the comments because I'm an Arsenal fan. But if anyone's going to win it, if anyone's going to win it, it has to be this season. It has to be. One big injury to Haaland. Obviously got Alvarez as well. But no one's ever won 4 in a row. And I don't think that's going to happen. I just don't think. Man City have got worse. And we've got better. We've arguably got the best squad depth in the league. Bringing in Declan Rice, Yuri and Timber. Whatever you think of Havertz, it's squad depth. And that's what brought Arsenal down last season. I don't think Arsenal would have won the league last season if they had Rice and Timber. If they did, they would have won the league. Arsenal overall now have a better squad than Man City. It just depends on who Man City bring in. I think if Man City bring in, replace Mahrez, and bring in another midfielder and another centre back in Guardiola, they'll probably win the league. But their squad is not deep enough anymore for both competitions. I think they'll be prioritising Premier League this season because obviously that's a record for. But yeah, and Arsenal's brought in some world class signings. Declan Rice. It's the first time Arsenal have bought a player for a long time that walks into anyone. So they've not only strengthened themselves, they weakened the title rivals in Man City. I've seen a lot of rubbish about people not thinking Arsenal's going to get top 4, which is a joke. You lot need to shut up, man. But I'm going to do it. You've heard it here first. Man City finishing second. Arsenal going to finish third.
If I speak, I am in big trouble.
No one. Man City's not winning the league again. They're not winning 4 in a row. It's never happened. The great Manchester United side's never even won 4 in a row. So I don't think it's going to happen this time. Arsenal have the best squad depth in the league. So as it stands right now, going off what transfers have been made, Arsenal are going to win the league.
Look at us. Look at us. Huh? Who would have thought? Not me.
I think Arsenal got to prioritise. They're either going to prioritise the Champions League or the Premier League, but I think the squad depth's there. They obviously need to sell some more players if they buy any more, but it's incredible the squad depth Arsenal's got now. And once again, they've probably got the best young centre back in the world, best young CDM in the world in Declan Rice. They got probably the best right winger in the world in Bukayo Saka, one of the best left wingers in the world in Martinelli. For once, Arsenal now have world class players in every position, arguably. So do Man City, but it's just Man City can't keep winning everything. They've lost so many key assets. Like Gundogan, if Man City don't have Gundogan and Mahrez at the end of last season, they don't win the league. They scored crucial goals for them. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Man City do in the transfer window. But as it stands, I think Arsenal are going to win the league. I'm not the only one that doesn't think Man City will win the league. A lot of people put Liverpool to win the league this season, but I don't think Liverpool have enough in the midfield. I think they'll have a slow start. And I think it's a 2-horse race between Man City and Arsenal, and I think Arsenal will finish on top. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think I'm just being a biased little rat or not? But there are my Premier League predictions. I don't think Man City are going to win 4 in a row. It's never happened, and I don't think it's ever going to happen. So I've gone for Arsenal. I think Arsenal are the closest challengers. But what do you think? Let me know down in the comments who you think will win the league and who you think will get relegated. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. TGFN. Peace out.